This is the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Welcome to the Diamond Hogs Podcast. I'm your host, Mason Choate, joined by Robert Stewart, as always. I feel like I started that way every time now. That's just how it goes.
As always.
As always. And so Arkansas played UCA, and that was the definition of a midweek game.
Yeah.
And now we have Florida coming up. We're going to have the watch party at Barley Vine.
Very excited tonight.
Excited to see everybody. This is going to be tonight because this comes out on Thursday. We're recording on Wednesday. Stick around. I'll have a little prize package thing for some people that show up, and we'll talk about that later on the episode. We're going to look ahead to Florida, talk about Florida. We got to talk about the UCA game as well. And I guess we should probably do bold predictions. We haven't been doing that as much.
Yeah, we forgot to do it last week, and I got burned for it.
Yeah. So, we got some other things we need to address here on the Diamond Hogs Podcast. But before we do, as always, need to remind you where you can find us. You think this is the part of the podcast where people just skip through? Like when you're listening to another podcast, like I skip through the ads.
I mean, they've already found us, so yeah.
Okay, so do you think they just skip through because they know they're going to do this every time? It's probably going to take a minute or two, and then I'll get to the normal stuff?
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope they don't skip the ads for Barley and Vine. You want to hear that.
You're really good at it, so.
Okay. Anyways, the Hit That Line Podcast Network, that's where you can find us. That's where most of our listeners are coming from. We looked at the numbers for Hit That Line yesterday. I don't even think I've told you this yet, Robert, but it's good numbers on Hit That Line Podcast Network.
Sounds great.
So thank you to everybody who's listening there, and we're very appreciative of hitthatline.com. That's where you can find Robert's recaps. Go to Hit That Line AR on Twitter. You can find his game updates. That's where I get my scoring updates because it's always quicker than going to the website or whatever. It's just I go on Twitter, I go to Hit That Line AR, and I get the scoring updates, especially in the midweeks because I'm not always there for the midweeks. So very thankful for them. Best listening needs for Arkansas athletics out there is over at hitthatline.com and on the Hit That Line Podcast Network. And we're also available on the HawgBeat.com YouTube page, so go to the YouTube. Robert pointed instead of waving this time, so good job, Robert. Please hit subscribe. Please watch the YouTube because that is where we put most of the effort into is the video version of it. And so we need you to watch that so it's worth it. And so HawgBeat, go subscribe to HawgBeat.com. We always talk about the student deal. It is worth it. Better baseball coverage than anywhere because I actually talked to Hutch yesterday, and he's like, man, baseball is my thing. Baseball is what I cover. I would much rather cover baseball than go to football practice. And sometimes that burns him because football is king. But it also is better for you baseball fans out there if you want the best baseball content. You know that Hutch is going to do it. I'm going to do it. Wrote a story about Brady Tigert on Monday. I'll have some other stuff. Maybe a story about Gabe Starks tomorrow. And we'll get to that later as well. And might have Gabe Starks on the podcast. Don't want to get your hopes up, though.
To be determined as of this very moment.
To be determined. We're waiting to see. If we don't have him, then you're probably not listening because, as we said, you probably skipped through this part anyways. So, and then we are brought to you by Barley and Vine. Watch party Thursday, first pitch 5 at Barley and Vine. It's 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. $2 Bentonville Brewing Company.
Homewrecker IPA.
Homewrecker IPAs. Okay, here, I brought up the graphic. Okay, $2 Bentonville Brewing Company Homewrecker IPA cans while supplies last. So here's what I'm going to offer to the people out there. I've got some Diamond Hogs Podcast stickers, and I know everybody wants some stickers because it's the Diamond Hogs Podcast logo. For the first 5 people that come to Barley and Vine and come up to me and ask for the sticker, I'll give you the sticker, and I'll buy you a Bentonville Brewing Company Homewrecker IPA can.
Man of the people.
Man of the people. First 5 people that do it, you get a sticker, and you get a free beer. How's that sound? You have to be 21 or older. I'm not gonna.
Mason's gonna card you.
I probably will card. I'm not gonna buy alcohol for people who are not legal. But I think that's fair.
Yeah.
First 5 people. So hopefully you did listen to this part of the ad. But come to Barley and Vine, 5 o'clock, 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. Today, Thursday, for Arkansas and Florida. Robert and myself are going to be there. David March, Josh Teeter, Andrew Ellis from the site that will not be named.
He's a good guy, though.
He is a great guy. And hopefully we see all you listeners out there as well. We're excited for it. Okay. Do you want to start with UCA?
I mean, it's fresh on my mind. If I sound a little tired, we're recording this Wednesday morning. It's a 4-hour game Tuesday night, so that's what's going on there. I mean, might as well jump right into it.
My hometown team, the UCA Bears.
The sports information director for UCA, every time our guy Oliver Grigg would list off an impressive stat. Dylan Leach hitting for the cycle, hitting 2 home runs one from each side of the plate, or Dylan Leach's 3 career home runs have all come against UCA. He would just sit there and go, "You're welcome." Yeah,
I think we all kind of expected this. I mean, UCA is UCA. They're not a baseball powerhouse, even though didn't they make it to the Supers a couple years ago? They made it to either a regional or the Supers.
That's news to me.
That's news to you? I know for a fact that happened. It was like 2016 or something. They played Mississippi State in either the Supers or the regionals. But I'll find that while you talk about the game.
No way it's the Super Regionals. I'm not buying that. Anyway.
I know for sure it was the regionals.
Okay, that seems more plausible. So the big story goes without saying, Dylan Leach hitting for the cycle. I want to pull up a tweet from Andrew Hutchinson. That was pretty cool. Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So he not only hit for the cycle, but did it in his first 4 at-bats. And then he comes up. So the home run he hit was left-handed, and it was a low liner. I wasn't sure it was going to get out, and neither was he. He said he was hustling out of the box just to make sure he could get to second. But it got out of the yard. That's a cycle. And then steps up to the very next inning and hits a home run from the right-handed batter's box. So here's the tweet from Hutch. In Major League Baseball history, I realize this isn't Major League Baseball, but there have been 334 times a player hit for the cycle, 350 times a player homered from both sides of the plate in a game, 16 players who accomplished both feats at any point in their career in separate games, 16 times, and then nobody did it in the same game. Yet Dylan Leach, the backup catcher who entered the game 1 for 22, pulled it off last night, 2 nights ago.
Crazy.
That's
of all Arkansas players, Dylan Leach.
I mean, I remember texting you. You weren't watching the game, but I texted you like triple. What?
Yeah, I assumed it was Dylan Leach because who else would you say that about?
Right.
I found it, by the way.
Especially after I don't know how many of you watched this game, but he in the first inning he just airmailed a throw to second base. It went at least 6 feet over Moore or Battles or whoever was fielding at second. But that was a pretty rough throw. Didn't end up costing him because he drove in 5 runs and scored 4.
Okay. Do you want this information?
Yes.
Okay. So 2013, UCA actually won a series at Mississippi State. They won 2 of 3 at Mississippi State in early March. And then they played in the Mississippi State Regional in Starkville. And they lost the first game to Mississippi State. Then they beat Mercer, beat Mississippi State, beat South Alabama, and then lost to Mississippi State in the regional final.
So they almost made it out of the losers bracket.
They almost did. So I mean, that was a good UCA team that year. They went 42-22.
Wow. 2013 would explain why I don't remember it.
Yeah. I remember that because, it was a big deal in
locally,
Conway at the time.
That makes sense.
Okay, back to the Arkansas UCA game from Tuesday.
Yeah, I was telling Pete in the press box, I bet, 20 is probably a safe bet for over-under, and yet I was going to go over all the way. But I was not talking about the Razorbacks alone. Yet 21 runs. They scored in every inning they came to the plate. 1-6-4-2, 1-4-2-1. That's pretty impressive. I realize it's UCA, but to score in every inning.
The bats were hot.
They were. They hit 7 home runs. Let's see. Braden Webb had a grand slam. I don't know if you saw the replay, but the way he admired that thing.
I saw the replay.
It was 412 feet or something like that. Absolute missile. Webb had a grand slam. That was at least his second of the year. There were a handful of triples, too. Robert Moore had one. Brady Slavin's got credit for one. I'm not really buying that it was a triple because the center fielder dropped it, and then the very next play robbed Jace Borfin of a home run. So I think that was a makeable play.
Was that the one where they ran into each other?
No, there was a sac fly off the bat of Slavens in the second. That was to left center field. His triple was to right center. The sac fly was to left center. Left fielder caught it, but they ran into each other on the track, and both runners in scoring position were able to score on a sac fly. I've never seen a 2-run sac fly before.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Let's see. So Moore and Slavens had triples. Dylan Leach, he hit for the cycle, so he had a triple as well. Jace Borfin hit 2 home runs. Dave Van Horn called it 2.5 because he was robbed. Probably should have been 3. Jalen Battles hit 1.
Wait, Jace Borfin hit 2 home runs?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He hit 1 in the 4th to lead off. That was his first as a Razorback. Couple innings later, the very next inning, he hit a hot shot to first base, went down as a 3-4-3. It was just a ground out, 3-4-3. Got an RBI for that. Flew out to center in the 6th, but that was over the fence, and then hit another home run to right. I want to say it went over the facility and right in the 8th. So big night for Jace Borfin. Jalen Battles hit 1 in the 7th. He became the 9th Razorback to record a hit that night. So, like you said, bats were hot. Kendall Diggs had a couple of hits, no homers though. And let's see, Peyton Stovall had 1, and Dylan Leach had 2 out of the 9 holes. So, very, very productive night, up and down, and probably got to think the bats are right where you want them to be heading into a road series in the SEC.
Yeah. It's always great to have these midweek games. These are just like stat padding games,
yeah,
especially at the plate. And then, I mean, you got to see a lot of pitchers. Let's see, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pitchers in this game for Arkansas.
Yep, that was tough for my scorebook, but
yeah. So, of course, Plyman started the game after coming in last week against Little Rock and kind of saving the day for Mark Adamiak. And then it was like, well, he's going to start now, and he's going to do the Mark Adamiak role.
Yeah, he definitely got shelled there in the first. Gave up a couple of doubles, 4 hits total, 3 runs, but only got 1 out. So hats off to Zach Morris for coming in, calming things down. Got an unassisted double play to shortstop for Jalen Battles there. That was the only batter he faced in the first. And then it was just the offense show from there on.
Yep.
Heston Toll came out. We were talking about this before the game. Heston Toll came in. He was the second guy out of the bullpen. When Morris ran into trouble in the 3rd inning, he was able to limit the damage. Did give up a couple of inherited runners, but worked a scoreless 4th. I asked Van Horn about this in the post game because it's been a while since we've seen him. I don't think he's pitched since the Grambling series, so that was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's a pretty long time for a guy that we kind of thought was going to have a bigger role out of the bullpen this year, but he said he wants to get him involved more, so we shall see.
I think that it was good for Heston Toll to get out there, but I mean, you look at a guy like Elijah Trest, he goes out there, throws an inning, 2 strikeouts,
back-to-back scoreless innings for him now. I'm pretty sure
3 up, 3 down in that one, and then so Nick Griffin, he got to throw. I'm assuming he did good. I mean, the stats look fine. I didn't watch the game.
Yep, he looked fine.
And then Nick Moten, though. Like, I was getting texts about Nick Moten. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, leadoff home run, single, walk, and once you walk 2 guys, that's not going to fly with Van Horn. So, let's see, Isaac Bracken came in. He
released the Bracken.
He wasn't charged with any runs, but did give up a couple of hits, which scored those 2 walks. Gave up a sac fly, which scored the hit Moten gave up, and then a couple of hits, which scored the walks that Moten gave up. So, not an outstanding outing for the freshman there. We knew that Dave wanted to get him in at some point soon, and he did not impress.
No, but the Adamiak comes in, does better than his last outing.
Yep, struck out the side, 1, 2, 3, and then Austin Ledbetter got the 9th, and he went 1, 2, 3 as well. So strong finish, and you know who pinch hit there at the end of the game for UCA? Former Razorback Trey Harris.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I did not know he played for UCA.
Now you do.
Well, 21-9, Arkansas what's the word I'm looking for? Improves to 22-5 on the season before going into the Florida series. I mean, what else is there to talk about? UCA is bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dylan Leach cycle, that's what you got to talk about. That's what everybody else is talking about.
Right. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You already talked about it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. The only interesting thing that I see in my scorebook is that UCA used 6 pitchers last night. Each one of them gave up a different number of runs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Baseball is a beautiful game sometimes.
It's so weird sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really weird that Dylan Leach went 5 for 5.
Yes.
With hitting for the cycle and 2 home runs, both from opposite sides of the plate.
And, I was sitting there the whole time last night, like, is there going to be a run rule? We could use a run rule tonight.
Oh, yeah, I'd be pissed off.
And yet, so Moten gave up those 4 runs in the 7th, right? Brought it to 18-9. I was like, well, run rule's off. And then Jalen Battles comes up, leads off with that home run. Okay, there's 10. Is that going to be it? And then, nope, they play on. So Leach had his cycle in the bag at that point, but I think hitting home runs from both sides of the plate, that probably made it worth it.
Well, it's good that Dylan Leach got to play because it gave Turner Time a day off.
Exactly.
Much needed day off for Turner Time. So, I guess let's do an ad read real quick, and then we'll get into some other stuff. Reminder, Barley and Vine, 5 p.m. today, Thursday, Arkansas versus Florida. Show up, $2 Bentonville Brewing Company, Homewrecker IPA cans. Like I said, first 5 people to come up to me, I'll give you a sticker and I'll buy you a beer. It's $2.
It sounds like a great deal to me. I don't care how much the beer is.
You are not included, and my friends are not included.
Got to be somebody Mason doesn't know.
It has to be somebody I don't know. So just come up to me. I mean, I think people should know what I look like. I'm the tall ginger.
Red Rifle.
As
some of you may know him.
Oh, my gosh. And just tell me you heard about it or whatever. Say, where's my sticker? Whatever you want to say. And then I'll buy you a beer. That's let me read the address real quick. That's probably important. 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. I don't know why I didn't just do that off the top of my head. Sometimes I'll be walking with my wife and I'll be like, 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in Bentonville. And she'll be like, what are you saying?
It's Barley and Vine.
It's Barley and Vine. I read it all the time. So please show up. We're excited. We want everybody to be there so we can have a good time. We would like to meet everybody. So we're excited. All right. So do you want to do Florida first, or do you want to do like stat updates for Arkansas?
What do you think? I wish we could instantaneously poll the listeners right here, but alas, we cannot.
Let's just do. Okay, so Lanzilli still leads the team in batting average, 344. He's hitting 344 on the year. Turner leads the team in RBI. No, he doesn't anymore. Caden Wallace does. Caden Wallace, 29 RBI, team high.
Caden Wallace out of the leadoff spot leads the team in runs batted in.
Yeah, but you got to think the bottom of the lineup is getting on base a lot.
That tells you how important 7 through 9 is. I mean, the lineup is just stacked. It's crazy.
You know why the bottom of the lineup is getting on base?
Because Zach Gregory's in the bottom of the lineup.
Zach Gregory's in the bottom of the lineup. Where's Zach Gregory in the runs now? Wallace is at 33, Gregory 25.
This is the disadvantage for Zach Gregory, is that he doesn't play in midweek games, so he can't run up his run total.
Yeah. So Braden Webb leads the team with 7 home runs on the year. Jalen Battles 6. And then after that, it's just a bunch of 4s and a bunch of 3s. Nobody in the starting lineup has less than 3 home runs. So that's pretty good.
I mean, nobody's blowing you out of the water, I guess, unless you want to say Braden Webb is, but that's just consistency across the board.
It is. I mean, this is a team where I feel like everybody has their own role, but also everybody can hit and hit for power when they need to. And I think the only question you really had was like Zach Gregory, and then last weekend he has 2.
Right.
So this is it's a stacked lineup. You've got 3 guys hitting over 300. That's Wallace, Turner, and Lanzilli. Gregory's right there at 292, and then it drops down to Battles at 277. So I think you would like to have some of these guys' averages up. I mean, Robert Moore's hitting 263. That's kind of unlike him. So
it is worth noting, I don't know if you've hit on this already, but it's worth noting that Zach Gregory is now the team leader in OBP by 1 point.
Oh, wow. He's ahead of Lanzilli now.
471 to Lanzilli's 470.
Wow. You know, Braden Webb is now third on the team in on-base percentage.
Get out of town.
And he has a higher batting average than Robert Moore. That's crazy.
Braden Webb, who started the year 0 for 24, now hitting 266.
And he's got 17 hits. Seven of his 17 hits are home runs. That's pretty good. And he's got 19 RBI. So that's more than Battles and Gregory. Gregory's only got 8 RBI. Wow.
He doesn't need to drive in runs because he scores them.
That's true. Okay. And then I guess we should talk pitching, I guess. Gabe Starks, Brady Tygart, of the guys who have Tygart's the only one with double digit out of the bullpen innings. So of the pitchers out of the bullpen who have double digit innings, Brady Tygart has the lowest ERA of 1.2. And he's got 22 strikeouts. Ramage has the most strikeouts out of the bullpen. That's 25. But I mean, what are we thinking about Ramage moving forward?
I don't think we need to see Cole Ramage in any game that could be qualified as a save situation. Or maybe you do, but as soon as he walks a guy, pull him, because that 12th inning was a disaster on Sunday.
So I wrote this story for HawgBeat.com Monday, and I basically said, like, Tygart's your guy out of the bullpen. He's your number one guy. He's your go-to guy right now. That's not too much to say?
It's not. I mean, he comes out and throws close to 60 pitches in a tie game Sunday. He got 11 outs. That's crazy for a freshman to do out of the bullpen.
And the movement on his ball is just
insane. I mean, he's pitching Ninja's new favorite, it looks like.
Yeah. I think Zeb, probably your number 2 guy now. Maybe Evan Taylor.
If you need a lefty, go to Taylor. I think Zeb's your number 2 righty for sure.
Okay. And then after that, it's just, I mean, we've seen Gabe Starks, but it's been pretty limited with Starks. We haven't seen him in a meaningful game, I feel like. Do you think that we might soon? I think he's earned it.
I mean, last thing we heard from Van Horn about him is that, you know, that game, that outing he had against Mississippi State was an audition for him to get some more innings in conference play. So, yes, I do think we'll see Starks. I mean, he was one of the few guys not to throw in Tuesday's game against the Bears. So
that probably says a lot.
It probably means that he is on tap for at least one inning against the Gators this weekend. Okay,
speaking of the Gators, let's just go ahead and dive right into the Gators. You want to talk about their pitching first?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what they look like right now. They're 19-10 on the year.
3-6 in conference play.
3-6 in conference play, but I mean that doesn't really mean much because you look at the West. Ole Miss and LSU both have losing records in conference play, so I don't think that's a huge deal. They are 12-5 at home, so note that. Keep that in your back pocket. They lost to Liberty at home in their first series of the season, and then they won a series at Miami 2-1, and Miami's a good baseball team.
No small feat.
They won a midweek against Florida State.
They're a top 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely ranked.
They lost a home series to LSU, so that's another home series loss, and then they got swept by Georgia in Athens last weekend.
The first series they beat Bama on the road. Did you get that?
I didn't really think Bama mattered, but yes, they beat Bama on the road. I'm kind of just looking at the series that pop out to me.
I got you. So, yes, as Mason mentioned, lost a series at home to LSU and got swept by Georgia. So, last 2 series together, they are 1-5.
Yep.
So, maybe sort of a struggling Gators team. You know, we've been talking about it recently. Crazy that Arkansas has started the year with 3 unranked opponents, and after getting swept by Georgia last week, Florida's now unranked, so it's 4.
I know. It's really unfortunate because these 2 series right here, like, we were thinking of going to the Florida series because it was supposed to be, you know, a top 10, top 15 series, and now you're looking at it, Florida's unranked. And so it's unfortunate for Arkansas as far as, you know, interesting things, but it's still going to be a good baseball matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Braden Webb said it last night, you know, this is an insanely talented team. They play in the SEC. You can't take them for granted. it's very clear that Van Horn has instilled that mindset in the locker room, and it's another weekend in the SEC. It's going to be a fun series. Maybe it's not Florida at its peak potential, but
I mean, they still got first-round draft picks
exactly
on their team.
Judd Fabian comes to mind right away, their center fielder. He's got a brother now on that team. I think both of them went yard in the midweek game against Florida A&M or whoever they played.
Mm-hmm.
And Hunter Barco, their ace. Van Horn didn't mention him post game by name, but he said they've got a lefty that's really, really good, and that's who it is. I want to say he pitched for Team USA or something like that in the summer with Jackson Wiggins. But I do remember him from the series at Baum Walker at the end of the regular season last year. He was pretty good, had a pretty good year. So, like you said, he's major league talent for sure.
Hunter Barco or Judd Fabian?
Both of them,
Oh.
but Barco particularly.
You want to talk about the pitchers? Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go right into it. Hunter Barco, sporting a 1.87 ERA. That's second on the Gators team. His ERA is WHIP is 0.76. That's the lowest that I can see. 5-1 on the year. He's made 7 starts, 43 innings under his belt. Batting average against is .169. So hits may be hard to come by against Barco. Let's see what he did against Georgia, shall we? Did he get the loss? No. Got a no decision in 5 innings, gave up 3 runs, all earned on 7 hits. Walked 2, struck out 6. So let's see. He did give up a double, a triple, and 2 home runs, but 2 home runs only turned into 3 runs. So, like I said, it's probably solo shots. They're not going to kill you, as Connor Noland told us last week against Mississippi State. I don't know. I mean, this guy's good. It's going to take a disciplined Arkansas lineup to get to him.
Yeah. So Brandon Sproat, Saturday guy.
He's another name I remember from last year. He is a lefty as well.
He's a righty.
He's a righty.
Yeah, sophomore, right-handed pitcher.
Okay. He recorded a quality start against Georgia last week. 3 earned runs in 6 innings. Still got credit for the loss. Did throw a season-high 107 pitches.
8 strikeouts.
So wonder if he'll be tired at all. But where is he on the year? Let's see. Brandon Sproat. He's got a 4.68 ERA. Where's the number 8, by the way? Single-digit pitcher. 1.38 WHIP. Neither of those two are particularly impressive. .260 batting average against. So looks like the Hogs could tag this guy.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I'm really curious about their Sunday situation, though.
Yeah, it's not really clear. Like I said, Barco's got 7 starts. All of his appearances are starts. Sproat has pitched in 8 games, started 7 of them. There's nobody else that really sticks out as a Sunday starter. They have a guy named Garrett Milchin who started the game against Georgia on Saturday. It was a series that started Thursday, so game 3 was Saturday. He did not record an out. He gave up 3 hits and 2 earned runs before he got an out. So seems like Kevin O'Sullivan probably won't go to him again against Arkansas. But they've got a handful of other names. There's a guy named Nick Pogue who has started 3 games.
He's such a cool name.
It is kind of a cool name. He's appeared in 3 games, started all 3 of them. He's got a 3.38 ERA. Who else? There's a guy named... Where is he? Timmy Manning. He started 5 of his 8 appearances. He's got a 6.11 ERA, .301 batting average against. So Sunday looks like a game that Arkansas could exploit Florida pitchers yet again.
Yeah. But also, I mean, like we saw last weekend, Sunday, sometimes the Sunday pitcher is going to get to you.
Statistically, though, that was the weird thing about Mississippi State for me. Like, as each day went on, the pitcher's ERA got lower. I'm pretty sure. Like I want to say the ace had the highest ERA.
But is he really an ace?
Well, all I'm saying is I know the Sunday guy. His ERA was the lowest.
Okay.
His numbers were were the lowest. Like he was going to make the Hogs work for their runs, and he did.
All right, well, let's just talk about some of these Florida batters real quick. We mentioned Judd Fabian. He's got 13 home runs on the year. He's hitting 283. He's tied for the team lead with 31 RBI, 34 hits. That's a team. No, sorry, 30 hits. That's not a team high. Sterling Thompson, he's got 40 hits. That's a team high.
Yeah, but his 1.155 OPS is a team high. Holy shnikes.
Yeah, and then
Is he just drawing a lot of walks? What's going on? His OBP's .438. That's a team high.
his slugging percentage is .717.
He has nearly double the number of walks of anybody else on the team. 27 compared to 14. Oh, there's a 16 in there, but point stands, he leads in walks by double digits. So maybe Arkansas doesn't want to pitch to Judd Fabian with all that power.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know the kind of pitchers that Fabian's been facing.
I also seem to recall that Judd Fabian had a terrible series in Fayetteville last year.
I remember that too. I actually want to pull that up if you want to talk about the batters hitting 300.
Sure. So they got 3 guys over 300. A couple of them sitting right below 350. Wyatt Langford, he's hitting 349 with a 1.12 OPS. So he's somebody you got to worry about as well. Looks like he's an outfielder / catcher. Sterling Thompson, he's hitting 348. OPS also above 1,000. OBP over 400 again. He's an outfielder / infielder. Very helpful. This Florida roster is. Let's see. Those 2 guys, 10 and 7 home runs respectively. Langford, the first guy I mentioned, slugging 688. That's second highest on the team behind Fabian. He's the only other guy with double-digit home runs. Then they have, let's see, do they have a pronunciation guide for this one? Doesn't look like it. Catcher number 15, B.T. Riopelle, Riopelle. He's a catcher from Marietta, Georgia, hitting 315. OPS almost at 1,000, 9.944. 7 home runs, slugging .565. 3 guys hitting over 300.
You want to hear how Judd Fabian did against Arkansas last year?
He struck out a lot, didn't he?
He was 1 for 11 with 9 strikeouts.
Yep, sounds about right.
Dang.
I forgot he struck out that many times, but
yeah, and his 1 hit came on Sunday
after they had already lost the series and Arkansas had already clinched the conference,
and he still had 2 strikeouts.
Man,
so rough go at it for Judd Fabian against the Hogs, but I'm sure he's gonna be playing with a little bit more fire under him. Thinking, well, I struck out 9 times against these guys last year.
You would think so, and maybe things change for him at home, but I mean, it feels like the Arkansas pitching staff is better than it was last year.
Also, congrats to Judd Fabian for growing a little bit of a mustache. All of his roster photos for his first 3 years, it's just baby face, and then he's got a little bit of hair.
You got a little
bit of hair on his mustache this time around. So, congratulations to Judd Fabian for growing facial hair. That's a big time thing. We'll see how he does against Arkansas this weekend.
The Diamond Hogs Podcast is the premier Razorback baseball podcast.
All right, Robert and I, we are recording from home right now. We had an interview planned, scheduled, didn't have a set time, but we knew it was going to be today, and the interview fell through for the 3rd time. So it's becoming increasingly frustrating for us because it's hard for us to put out a great product for you listeners. And we're going to try to get that stuff figured out, but we just want you guys to know that we are trying to get these good interviews for you guys with players, and to no fault of our own. And we are trying behind the scenes. We're doing everything we can to get this stuff. We're sending follow-ups, we're communicating clearly, and we've granted the wishes of those who we have to get with, and it's just not happening. And it's becoming frustrating. So for you, for the listeners who are thinking, when are they going to get players on? We've been trying to. The past 3 weeks, we've had interviews lined up with players, and they fell through to no fault of our own.
That's all there is to it. If it were up to us, then we would have these things taken care of. But
ultimately it is not, and we are not interested in having credentials revoked or anything to that effect. So here we are, just us.
Just us. I know that some of you are not. That's not exactly what you wanted. We probably shouldn't have name dropped the person we were going to have on, because then we got people's hopes up. And I'm sorry. I'm no longer going to name drop who we plan on having on if we haven't already done the interview before recording.
He said he wanted to come on, so hopefully very soon.
Yes,
that's all we can say.
Hopefully we can get stuff figured out. And then by the time we realized, hey, this is going to fall through, it was too late to reach out to anybody else. And so right now we're both just recording from home. Didn't have time to go back to the studio. One thing we did not mention though, Robert, was Connor Noland was named to the mid-season Golden Spikes Award watch list, one of 40 players. So I mean, that's newsworthy, and it's a big thing for Nolan. So good for him. But you look at it, yes, Connor Nolan's had a great year, but it feels like there could have been maybe one or two Razorbacks that should have been on this list, because I feel like what they have done is, to the level of what Connor Nolan has done. Do you agree?
I would say so. Do me a favor, before we get too far into this discussion, if you'll pull up that full watch list and see if there are other schools, or not other schools because Arkansas doesn't, but any schools that have 2 or more players on that watch list. Because we were talking about it earlier, Connor Noland quietly, really impressive from the ace roll Friday night. ERA is just a little bit over 3. He has a good outing tonight, and we're looking at sub 3. So he absolutely deserves to be on there. Feels like he's getting not just a whole lot of credit, because I don't know, maybe we've seen him be successful before. We sort of talked about this a little before, but like you said, Michael Turner, Chris Lanzilli, both hitting. Let's see if I can get the stats up real quick. Both hitting around 350, just a little below. But they've been very, very impressive, both of them, throughout the first part of the year. Chris Lanzilli's been on base in every game. I know they're not playing the best of competition, but that's nothing to sneeze at for sure. Those two really stand out, like they maybe could be on this watch list. I don't know what the other 39 players are doing in comparison to those two guys, but as far as maybe deserve a little bit more national attention, I think Turner and Lanzilli are up there for sure.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the list here. It looks like there were 3 Tennessee players, a couple of Vandy guys. I think as of now, as of what I'm looking at, okay, Virginia had 2 guys, and I think maybe Texas Tech had 2 guys. But you're talking about all those teams; those are all top 5 teams. So aside from Vanderbilt now, but I think that it's, midseason watch lists don't really mean much. It's just Connor Noland was named to it, so congratulations to him. I think he's very much deserving. But you mentioned Turner. Turner's the guy that I think of immediately, of a guy who probably could have been on that, but realistically talking about it, there's not. What are you going to do? He's going to keep going out there and performing. We know Robert Moore, he's been somewhat underperforming. We know Caden Wallace. He's been doing great, but he could be doing better. So there's a lot of baseball left to be played. And so I think this series at Florida is going to be great for Arkansas, as far as, can they show that, they are the number 2 team in the SEC? Because you got to say Tennessee's number 1 right now. So if you go down there and you at least win 2 out of 3, if you sweep Florida, then I don't know what that says. Because we know Georgia's a good team, but Georgia swept Florida too. So maybe the question is, how good is Florida?
And we know their ace is really good. I think I said earlier, he's got a .76 whip. That's almost unheard of to be that low. So we should expect a pitcher's duel for our watch party at Barley Vine tonight. And rest of the weekend we'll see where it takes us. Brandon Sproat is the starter. I think I said he's hittable, and then Saturday game 3, that's just a giant question mark for Florida. So I would think that the Arkansas is going to be able to check out of this series with with a win in the series finale. And Friday seems pretty winnable too with Hagen Smith on the mound.
I guess one thing we could do is we could look ahead to some other series that Arkansas has coming up left in the season. So maybe we could predict what we think their series record will be throughout the rest of the season. What do you think about doing that, Robert?
We might as well. It's I feel like the way that they're playing right now, it's going to be hard for me to say they're going to lose to anybody because they're not playing Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you get LSU at home next weekend. Then you play at A&M the weekend after that. Then you get Ole Miss at home again, at Auburn, Vandy at home, and at Alabama to close it out. To me, the way I look at this, the only series that I could see them losing, I think, so Vandy, I think by the time May 13th through the 15th comes around, Vandy's going to have figured things out. But I look at that series at Auburn, which is squeezed in between Ole Miss and Vandy. That's a trap series because isn't Auburn number 2 in the West right now? They have a 5-4 record in the SEC West.
Auburn is the only other SEC West school with a winning record as of this moment.
I don't know how good Auburn actually is. I'm just saying that seems kind of like a trap series in between two big series at home.
I hear what you're saying. I don't know much about the teams down the road. Let's see. Auburn lost a series to Ole Miss to start things off. They've been on the road twice since then, and I guess they've won 2 series since then. They beat both Texas A&M and LSU in College Station and Baton Rouge, respectively. So, sounds like they're a pretty good team on the road. It feels like they probably don't have the biggest of baseball crowds at Plainsman Park. I'm not sure what the capacity is down there, but I'm sure that it's not going to be some sort of hostile environment for the Razorbacks to go in and be lucky to escape with one win or anything like that. But the team, it certainly could be something to look at based on the way the first 3 weeks have gone.
You know something else I thought about, Robert. I think you need to make an apology.
I need to make an apology.
Yes, maybe you do a Notes app apology. Maybe it's that kind of level of wrongdoing that you've done our listeners, but we didn't even mention the fact that you were comparing Gregory's runs to his at bats, and multiple people got very upset with you, Robert. And I think that you need to, 1, address this, 2, apologize, and 3, maybe we have you do some kind of community service to make up for this.
Wow, that's pretty hardcore. So first of all, the people out there are correct. I do need to be using plate appearances. Couldn't find them on the stat sheet. I realize it's a pretty simple math equation, but when you're in the spur of things, it's a little tricky to add too many numbers together. But my vow will be to work on that, do my math, and by the end of the Florida series, I will have an updated calculation because I am not going to do myself a disservice by including a game in which Caden Wallace scored a handful of times and Zach Gregory didn't play.
So I didn't hear the words "I'm sorry" in there.
Maybe a Notes app is the way to go.
Okay.
I'm not ready.
Are we gonna? Is this Notes app gonna include the? And there's a deep drive to left field, and that makes it a 4-0 ball game. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Those are the only type of Notes app apologies that I count. If you don't add that in there, then do you really care? So
correct. So yes, just want to point out again, everybody who has made a comment about this is correct, but just fell a little bit short because I couldn't find the one number I was looking for. So
I'm gonna be honest. I've kind of come to expect that from you. I no longer set my expectations very high for you, Robert. I know Austin. I can't always remember how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Prochaska. Okay. He's a listener and he's a fan of ours. And he said that you asked a good question at the press conference about Heston Toll. So congratulations on that. That's
It
a
was a
big
good
thing.
question. It was a good question. I don't ask bad questions. I don't care what I don't care what Dave Van Horn says. I don't ask bad questions.
Speaking of which, guess who asked about us when we didn't show up to the Swatters Club meeting on Monday?
Dave Van Horn.
Okay, so we don't go to the Swatters Club for two reasons. One, because we have class. That's the main reason. And two, because I'm not about to pay $17 for a plate of food.
$16 plus tax just to eat.
Yeah.
Come on now.
But our friend of the podcast, Andrew Hutchinson, he does go to the Swatters Club meetings, and he said he shows up and Dave Van Horn's like, "Hey, where are the young guys?" And Hutch is like, "Oh, they're doing stuff." And then he goes on to describe us as we're just student journalists. And I reply with, "Hutch, I literally work for you. How hard was it to say that I work for HawgBeat, but you say that I'm a student?" Because it kind of takes it down a little bit when you say that I'm just a student. I feel like I'm more than that. We also host the Diamond Hogs podcast. Come on the pod, Dave. You think he's listening?
What did he say a couple of weeks ago that made us think that he listened? He said Zach Gregory's an on-base machine, right?
Yeah, he said Zach Gregory, he's an on-base type guy. And so I think that has spread so much. And I really appreciate everybody supporting that. That's kind of our thing right now, is the Zach Gregory thing. But I mean, I honestly, we feel like big shots now that Dave Van Horn notices when we're not there. He didn't even notice that Bob Holt was at the press conference the other day. So if he doesn't even see Bob when he's there, but he does notice when we're not there, I think we're pretty big time, dude.
Did you hear him after the UCA game ask Bob how old he was?
I did, yeah. What did Bob say? 62?
He said 62. I could tell a little story to fill some more time if you want. So I remember the first Arkansas baseball game I ever covered. This was September of 2019. It was a 14 inning marathon exhibition game against Oklahoma. And it was my first assignment with the Traveler. And the game started at 7 or 7:30, I'm not sure, but because it was so long, it went past midnight. And when the clock struck midnight, Bob Holt turned 60 years old. And I remember, I don't know if it was Hutch or whoever else, but somebody asked Bob, what was the best memory of your 50s? He was like, living it right now here with you guys.
That's such a Bob Holt thing to say.
Isn't it?
We need to have Bob on the podcast. That's who we need to have on the podcast. I don't even know if Bob knows my name, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever spoken to Bob.
I think I introduced myself to him that night. Whether he remembers me or not remains to be seen.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and let's just do this. Let's say that segment in that story of Bob Holt was brought to you by the Encore Group. Because normally we would say our interview was brought to you by the Encore Group, but we didn't have one. So the story that Robert told on Bob Holt was brought to you by the Encore Group. By now, you know our friends at the Encore Group at Remax Elite. That's Matt Grissom and his team. They have so much experience of selling homes for top dollar in the shortest amount of time. But do you know what sets them apart from their competition, Robert?
Do they go above and beyond?
Oh my goodness. You got it. You hit the nail right on the head. From helping you get your home show ready to hiring professional video and photography, creating custom signage, and much more, Matt goes above and beyond to market your home. Don't settle for a bunt when it comes to selling your home. Call the Encore Group for a Grand Slam experience. For more information or to receive a free property valuation proposal, visit sellingarkansas.com. That is sellingarkansas.com for the Encore Group. Very thankful for them. I hope that they're not too disappointed that this week they are sponsoring a Bob Holt story rather than insert player name here. So that's unfortunate. Sorry, Matt. But it was a good story. I like the story.
There you go. I aim to please.
Okay. So tonight, Thursday night, if you're listening to this on Thursday, it's tonight, 5 o'clock, Barley and Vine, 113 West Central Avenue in Bentonville, Suite 103. I said that off the top of my head, by the way. I'm not even reading right now. Can you believe that?
You know what? I can. It's just ingrained in you now.
It's not, I mean, like, honestly, I feel like I live there, even though I haven't been yet. I'm going on Thursday. We're going on Thursday.
It's going to be a great time.
Gonna have fun. Excited to see everybody there. And if you're listening to this after Thursday, you can still go to Barley and Vine and watch the game and grab a drink and hang out with your friends. It's a wonderful place to do that. They have the couches, they have the games, they have the shuffleboard, they have the darts, they got chess, they've got checkers. I mean, it's the perfect place for just your casual drinker or your person who doesn't want to have the bar atmosphere and they just want to chill and have like a glass of wine or a glass of beer. Do you say a glass of beer or do you say a pint of beer or what?
I don't know why, but glass of beer sounds very European to me.
It sounded weird when it came out of my mouth, and that's why I asked the question.
I mean, you could say a pint of beer.
Okay.
They're like pint glasses. That's a thing.
Well, they have 32 of them on tap, and they can serve them in cans and bottles as well. So Barley and Vine, Thursday at 5 o'clock, Arkansas versus Florida. Like I said, first 4 people that show up get a sticker, and I'll buy you a beer. I'm only buying you the $2 Bentonville Brewing Company home wrecker IPAs, though. The bank account is not looking beautiful. I bought a new car. Did I say that on the podcast already?
I don't know. I mean, you did indicate that you were looking for one, but
yeah. Well, I'm no longer looking for one, but we would still love for a car dealership to sponsor the podcast.
By the way, are we going together tomorrow? Are we taking your sexy little new ride?
We can, yeah, if you want to.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, that is going to be Thursday and Arkansas. So Thursday, as we mentioned, it is at 5 o'clock on the SEC Network against Florida. Friday, 5:30 SEC Network Plus, and Saturday, noon 12 on the SEC Network Plus against Florida. Okay, Robert, you have anything else to add? Yeah, all those are central. Yeah, because Robert was stupid earlier. Last episode.
It is being played on the East Coast, so it's worth noting that we are listing our native time zone.
Oh yeah, I forgot that we have listeners in like other countries. What do you think the people listening in? I shouldn't say the R word country in Germany. What do you think the people listening in Germany think when we say it's at 5:30 or 5?
I think if they are paying enough attention to listen to this podcast, and they probably have a pretty good idea of the Central Time to Central European time conversion.
Okay, agreed. Well,
that's my guess.
Well, thank you to everybody who listens, including the listeners in Germany, and we will talk to them and everybody else on Monday.
You've been listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Choate Mason and at DRStew32.